Hello and welcome to the second part of the Timepieces podcast series from Rekoop. We talked last time about changing attitudes amongst law firms to time recording systems and time data. And I'm joined by Phil Wedgwood, CEO of Rekoop. And I'd like to ask you, Phil, how are you redefining your product set to meet the changing attitudes of your clients?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think there's different drivers behind those changing attitudes, and they impact the product development in different ways, I guess. But there's also the sticking true to our vision that we set out many years ago now, and that was to use technology to automate the production of timesheets. Now, if that's taken to its natural conclusion, the product in itself becomes invisible because the classic user interface that is required to produce a timesheet in effect disappears. And that's why in a way I found it quite amusing recently, the debates about, whether the software is native or whether it's non-native and all HTML5 and all the rest of it. And part of me, gets a bit bored with that nowadays because we've moved on from that, and I think the market's moved on from that in terms of the automating time capture piece. And you know what? You'll struggle to find a lawyer that will actually know the difference between native and HTML5 in the real world anyway. So it's very much a bit of a tech fest. And I think where we're focused is ensuring that if technology can automate the production of this data and the harvesting of this data in an effective way, then there is no UI really to worry about. What's interesting is the UI that people are going to have to add value is about manipulating the output of that data. And that's really where the focus of Rekoop has been in the R&D of the product over the last sort of year, 18 months particularly. And there are two key areas that we've defined for the product, which are natural parts of the Rekoop portfolio. So this is still us being obsessed by the currency of time. We're not going off on a tangent here. And this is us taking the natural evolution around the analysing of the data that we have ourselves harvested and being able to monitor, manipulate that data in a real-time way through the life of a matter.
So are you promising fairness a future of no time recording?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think everybody hates time recording. And really, I think, wouldn't it be great to have a vision to say that, time recording specialist, the market leader Rekoop says, we hate time recording. I think most lawyers hate time recording, in all fairness. And, nobody loves doing it. So if we could take that away, and, we're pretty much there now. If we can take that away and actually allow the technology to communicate with the lawyers in a way that's really value adding, I think that's actually really impacting in terms of the benefit that we can provide not only the firm of obviously a firm level, but the individual users themselves.
So if we imagine a world where the recording element is done sort of invisibly in the background and fairness don't have to worry about it, that's fine. We have a monitor type module and we have an analysis module.
Yes.
Their specific roles. Tell us a little bit more about those.
So the monitor capability is a module that is designed to monitor time in real time around a particular project or matter or indeed budget. If you like, another way of describing it is it gives you a project management view or a cost budgeting view of a project or a matter. So to give you an example, what does that mean? So if you start a matter, you can say, I'll have these three people working on this matter and I have a budget of £10,000 and I want alerted when I hit this threshold and hit go. And the product will talk to you and communicate to the various users or people within the firm once certain thresholds have been hit.
And I would imagine this is absolutely key for the litigation market in particular.
Yeah, so one of the business drivers is been around the whole sort of Jackson compliance piece. And yes, fully Jackson compliant. And what it allows you to do is automatically generate your precedent H forms. So we're tracking each of the phases in real time across the firm and across the different users. And or at the end of the process, you hit one button and you get your Precedent H form as well. And that's really powerful stuff, and I think is a real business driver at the moment. Firms are really struggling to actually adhere to the Jackson compliance piece. I think certainly from a technology perspective, many firms I meet have cobbled together various Excel spreadsheet approaches to solving this challenge. And I think in the vendor space, it's quite an embryonic market, really. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
And analysis, tell us more about that.
Yeah, so analysis is a simple framework, which is, I guess, an enhanced reporting framework, which really tries to bring to life the output of the data that we're harvesting and manipulating. And this is classically time and performance type information. So utilization data, performance against target data, high performing fee earners, low performing fee earners, time taken to record your timesheet, performing clients and matters and things like that. But we also have the ability to flex the framework in a bespoke way to really contain lots of other types of data sets. And that's very much done on a firm by firm basis, depending on what the type of behaviours firms are trying to drive from within their particular teams.
I mean, this sounds like quite a market shift away from what time recording was a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, and traditionally these sort of modules, they don't really exist in what you normally classify as sort of dedicated time recording technologies, I suppose. But we've overlaid them onto the classic product because our clients want this capability and the market demands it. With the ABS reforms and the Jackson reforms, companies now, and I say companies because many law firms see themselves as companies now, businesses that have to adhere to diminishing margins, and they have to become much more competitive, much more fleet of foot and aware of their cost of doing business. And the only way they can do that is by having and manipulating this type of data. And the fact that a technology can just be injected into a firm that tells you the cost of doing business, monitors that cost in real time against particular projects, and then gives you a framework of communication through which you can drive that performance and share that data set with your clients, that's really game changing and very unique actually in its capability.
Thanks, Phil. Join us for the third and final part of this series, where we'll be looking at how this new technology and changing attitudes to time have the potential to be hugely transformational for the legal business.